All right, welcome Santa Clarita. Listening to the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John. My name is John. Doug is not here, but we do have a special guest replacement. We have City Council member Bob Keller in studio, live in person.
And John, it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
It is our honor, Mr. Keller. It is definitely our honor. Now, all right, so a lot of people know you, but a lot of people don't know you. So let me ask you a couple questions.
That can be a good thing, by the way.
It's probably good and bad. How long have you been on City Council?
I am in my 16th year.
Wow. How long have you been out in Santa Clarita?
36 years.
Oh my gosh, it must have been just a farming community when you came out
Actually, I was raised in the San Fernando Valley, but I can tell you, and at my age, I remember being out here in 1949, 1950.
Oh, what was out here?
Not much. My dad and I,
Yeah,
we were it.
Wow, I can imagine. You probably have seen both good and bad throughout your years, huh?
I've seen a lot more good than I have bad.
Yeah. What's the best part about being on the council?
Now, that's an interesting question.
There's got to be a good.
You know, the truth of the matter is, when it's all said and done, what a privilege and an honor to be able to serve the community. And I am so thankful to have had this opportunity. You know, it's one that's very demanding time-wise and so forth, but ultimately, I got to tell you, it has been a tremendous experience.
Okay, so what's your favorite part?
People.
4th of July parade?
Oh, we could probably narrow it down to things like that. I always enjoy that. I get to ride a horse, but
or
the truth
the
of the
back
matter
of a
is,
nice car with a girl. That's always
getting to know the people in the community and seeing things come together by everybody working together. It really it's remarkable what we've been able to enjoy here in Santa Clarita.
So, all right. Conversely, what's the worst part? What do you see? What do you see as the worst part about Santa Clarita right now? The worst thing that's going on?
There are, unfortunately, and it's just part of life, there's always those factions out there that are, what I'm going to just say, are negative.
Good point.
And as part of life, you have to just work through it. But it saddens me when I read a letter to the editor and they say, oh, but this town is terrible, and oh, we're crime-ridden, and things that I know just aren't true.
Yeah.
But once again, on the overall, there's a lot more positive than there is negative.
Well, with politics, I guess you probably have to deal with a lot of people's personal agendas. That's got to be difficult as well.
True.
Not everybody has the best interests of the city in heart all the time. How do you deal with that when you try to make everybody happy? It's got to be difficult.
You know, I will tell you, it's a very nice thing to be able to say, you know, I want to make everybody happy. Yeah. And ironically, that topic comes up fairly often. I tell people this, and particularly people that are brought on board and to be in leadership capacities, if you will. Yeah. You know, you look at each issue on its own merits. You try to get as much information as you can possibly get so that you make an informed decision. I tell people, never make a political decision. And when I say that by political, I mean if you're out here trying to please everybody, chances are you're going to step out of the realm of what is the right decision and make a political decision. I want everybody happy.
Right.
Ultimately, I got to tell you, you need to make a decision based upon what you think is the right thing to do for people that do not even know your name.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that way you can always look in the mirror in the morning and know that in your heart you've done your best.
Right thing. Yeah, and that's the problem. It seems like most people wouldn't come to the city council or care about the city council until it becomes a very personal problem for them.
True.
You know, I'm not coming to the city council meeting just to say, hey, guys, I'm here. It's I want a stop sign or something's occurring that's going to affect me. And that's what we're going to talk about later. We're going to talk about some of the high-speed rail stuff. Aside from just the high-speed rail, what do you see as the biggest issue in the city right now? Anything special coming up that we should be concerned about?
Well, you know, over the years, we never seem to have had a lack of issues.
That's very true.
We might say it's had a pretty significant fire under it. Certainly, the CMEX matter, it continues to, until we win that battle, the CMEX issue is going to continue to be something up at the top of the list. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Whitaker Burmite is still the donut in the hole, or the hole in the donut, and we've got a large area there, 996 acres, that needs to be cleaned up. We're making a lot of progress. That's important for our citizens to realize. But we need to get a ribbon on that cleanup process over there so that we can do some other very important things for this community.
Oh, yeah. And the city does so much that people don't realize. That's the impressive part. I've lived in different places, and I've never seen anything half as much as what Santa Clarita does for its citizens. And that's probably based upon you guys, the city council. And it's a great thing to do. What is there one thing in particular that you've done in your career that you're really proud of?
Oh, what a nice question. I think probably ultimately I'd have to say, and I often, when I have an opportunity to talk to school kids, if it's an appropriate time, I will say, knowing what I know today, if I had to do it all over again, I would become a Los Angeles police officer. I did that for 25 years,
right.
and I will tell you, as I reflect over my years, I believe that is probably the one thing that I'm most proud of.
That's got to be a tough job now. I was talking to my father, who grew up as a military police officer and served a little bit and decided he was going to do some police work, and then decided he actually got a job at NASA and left that entirely. And he's always been intrigued by that. And I went, today the climate for police has got to be just miserable. You can't make a decision without getting second guessed.
Well, it wasn't exactly a cakewalk when I was there.
But you don't have cell phone cameras and body armor cameras and everybody fighting about everything. But all right, so when we come back, we're going to talk high-speed rail because there's a lot of issues coming up, and there's a big meeting Monday, right? Monday, 7 o'clock.
You bet.
Canyon Country High School. All right, well, you're listening to Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John. Special guest, City Councilman, the Honorable Bob Keller, and we'll be right back. All right, we're going to do this for Doug. You do need to know Santa Clarita. You're listening to Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John, our special guest, City Councilman Bob Keller. Now, Mr. Keller, sir, we were going to talk about high-speed rail. There's a big meeting coming up, Canyon Country High School gym, Monday at 7 o'clock. Now, people know kind of what's going on. The high-speed rail, they're trying to build this high-speed rail between the Los Angeles area and San Francisco, right?
That's correct.
I read something the other day that the cost has skyrocketed. The ticket price, first of all, it's $81 one way.
It's not going to be cheap.
It's not going to be cheap.
No.
Are you for this in a general sense or against it?
No, I'm against it.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely, totally against it.
I concur entirely. It seems like it's a waste of time, right?
Well, there are ways to solve the transportation problems, and I just simply say this is not one of them. It is just off the chart cost-wise. Right. The estimates now by the people that are behind it say $68 billion. When the people voted on it, it was about half that number.
Right.
In 2008. So it's doubled now, and I have talked with many people that have a tremendous amount of knowledge about high-speed rail. I had a gentleman tell me, let me just explain something to you, Mr. Keller. That high-speed rail is going to cost closer to $150 billion, and it is not going to include the trains. And the numbers, that they really do not know how many billions it's going to cost.
Well, aside from the cost, I keep looking as a need. Really? I mean, aren't there things that we need more than a high-speed rail to San Francisco so we can go there for the weekend? Well,
right now, I'll tell you a need. Let's get some desalinization plants going, and let's get some water in this state.
Exactly.
That is a crisis.
Yeah. I saw it said that our state senator, Scott Wilk, tried to get a bill to take that money and use it for schools. That got shot down. That, I thought, was a pretty good idea,
I got to hand it to Assemblyman Wilk. He's working very hard to do some good things for not just his district, but for the state of California.
Yeah, it just struck me as kind of strange. Now, the biggest problem we have with high-speed rail, locally at least, is right now they're proposing 3 different routes through Southern California, and in essence, sort of through this area, yeah.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the first 2, because the first 2 are right through Santa Clarita, right?
The first 2 are going to go right through Santa Clarita, and my understanding, there might be some variation. When I say variation, a couple hundred feet in either direction, perhaps. But basically, what is on the drawing board at this time for the 2 coming through Santa Clarita? They are going to go through a lot of folks' homes. They're going to go through schools, churches. All of these are susceptible to being absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, because I've heard things from they're going to be 30-foot high platforms because the rail.
It's either underground or it's way above ground.
They can't make up their mind.
Nope.
It seems like, and I don't think any of these things is going to work out very well because the other one is a tunnel through the Angeles Forest, right?
It's not just actually the first 2 also require about a 9-mile tunnel.
Oh, jeez.
Can you imagine being underground for 9 miles, going about 200 miles an hour or anything approaching it? And there's 2 parallel 30-foot diameter tunnels because you've got one going in either direction.
Right.
All right, so that configuration is present on the first 2 coming through Santa Clarita, but they come to the surface here in Canyon Country. Exactly where, I don't think anybody really is able to articulate at this time, but here in Canyon Country is a given. The third alternative is by far, for the benefit of this community, is the one to go with. And that one, it's going to be a longer tunnel, but it is going to be a more direct route out of the San Fernando Valley, and it will stay underground virtually to the corner of Palmdale in that area, thereabouts.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is everybody's, it's good for our community. No, it's not. It's not stopping here. That's the thing that I think I've talked to a lot of people about this, and they're like, well, I wouldn't mind, catching a train here and taking it up to like Bakersfield really fast. You're not going to be able to do that, are you?
Well, your initial numbers were 220 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Now they're saying, well, probably 200 is about the speed. And the way they're heading, this thing will be lucky if it's doing 20 miles an hour by the time they build it. But regardless of that, that is obviously an exaggeration. But the truth of the matter is it's almost questionable if you can truly call it a high-speed rail anymore.
Well, and just thinking about it, standing next to something that's going 200 miles an hour that's that big, it's not going to be the quietest thing, is it?
Oh no, it's going to be a very loud whoosh.
Yeah.
And by the way, again, I'm going back over the last 3 or 4 years, having dealt with this matter. Estimates are that those trains would be running at least every 10 minutes. The numbers are just mind-boggling. Is what this involves.
Well, I think it's every 10 minutes. They can't even get planes to fly every 10 minutes to San Francisco and fill them up.
And by the way, would you rather take a plane for an hour and get up to San Francisco, or would you rather ride in this so-called high-speed train and have, I don't know how many stops ultimately, but the areas where they're going to have to pull over are estimated to be a half mile in length.
Oh, jeez. This is getting kind of silly. It's been kind of silly. I'm sure you've been doing this for a while. But is there one group that's creating all this, or is it just Sacramento and Governor Brown and everything up there?
Well, there's no question. Governor Brown is the big proponent of this plan. Has been from day one. But he's also got the Washington, the president, on board with it. When we come back from the break, I want to share something that was told to me when I was in Washington on this.
Yeah, because that'd be interesting. Because I've always thought that I can't imagine that this is going to be beneficial to anybody other than somebody is making money, and I don't think it's going to be the cities involved or the state. But all right, well, you're listening to Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Clarita's hometown station. We've got our special guest Bob Keller. When we come back, I want to find out what's going on in Washington with this high-speed rail.